This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talks. Are you serious? Right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. I'll be joined by my co-host, the Mad New Yorker, in just a bit. We're going to talk some NBA playoffs and other news, and NHL Stanley Cup playoffs and some other news around the league. I'm sure Carl's will be very happy about one coaching development this past week. I want to thank again, as I always do, all of our groups that allow us to share it. Obviously, some different groups will get it today as we're talking some topics we haven't talked about in a while. So I thank you. You'll definitely have some good content to share with your members. And also, we're live right now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You can always catch us on all of those when we're live, and then we'll replay this episode at noontime on Roku. Get those Roku devices downloaded. Get those Roku TVs fired up and download Northeast Streaming Sports. We're really growing in leaps and bounds, both on Facebook and the social media outlets and Roku. So thank you for all of that. I also want to mention that I'm going to play the 30-second spot for the Dream Ride experience here in a little bit. It's an event that Northeast Streaming Sports will be a major sponsor of coming up in August, the 26th, 27th, and 28th. And it is a great event that raises money for the Homeland Foundation in, I want to say Farmingdale, Connecticut. I hope I got that right. But real quick, let me play this, and I'll probably play it on the way out today as well. And I want to just give you guys a chance to take a look at this for a second, and we'll get to your comments and bring in Carlos.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
All right. So again, a great event and a good cause. So please consider taking a ride out there or just donating. It's a great cause, and Northeast Streaming Sports is solidly behind this event. So thank you. Quick good morning, Dave Guyette. Good morning. Go Yankees. We won't get a lot of Yankees talking today, but watch my vlog later. Dave, I'll probably have to do some mea culpa, at least early in the season. I will do a little mea culpa and admit I've been wrong up until now, and we'll see. I don't do that a lot. Actually, I do. I have to do it a lot. And good morning to Alan. With no further ado, let me bring in the before-mentioned the Mad New Yorker, Carlos Chavez. Good morning, Carlos. How are you?
Good morning, Keith. Good morning, everyone. How's it going?
Oh, it's going well. It's been a long week. A lot of stuff going on, as we just talked about. You know, it's hard to get some sleep here these days.
Long night of sports.
I get about 4 hours a night, it seems. And but, you know, to work and play and have fun doing this, we got to try to stay updated. So we want to talk a lot today about a lot. The show will be the NBA and the NHL, basically, because we haven't really touched on it a lot. And we're fully into the NBA playoffs, the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's take a look real quick, Carlos. You know, if you want to chat a little bit about your quick takeaways from we'll start with the NBA.
All right,
let me change my banner while you're speaking. What's your quick takeaway so far? And we'll look at some of the series more in depth. But what's your quick takeaway so far?
Yeah, so Philly is in a bad state of basketball mind right now, right? They don't know what they're going to do with these players that they have on their roster that are costing them so much, not just in money, but in games as well. You can't go in such a high seed in the playoffs and not, you know, and well, they didn't go in a high seed, but they went with high hopes and perform like they did. It's almost like they didn't have a performance. Like these guys were coming out in the first and second half, and then they forgot about the third and the fourth quarters. You know, the Heat did a good job as a team. Spoelstra has them being more involved with each other, even though they've got a few players there that look like they could probably carry the team on their own, even someone like Butler. But they play good. They move the ball around a lot. They play great defense as a team, and they look like they're going to be a good competitive team for the next team that they're going to match up against. So
yeah, in that regard, I mean, this series of the Heat did go down last night to the Heat did beat the 76ers, I should say, 99-90 to wrap up that series, 4-2, as you kind of alluded to.
That game was almost 22 points.
Yeah.
It wasn't started
the score for sure.
Yeah, for the last 4 minutes. And then, guys like Maxey, just kept trying to put out, get some points to catch up. And then, even Embiid made a few plays here and there. But, I mean, there was no Harden in the last 10 minutes of the game at all. So,
Yeah, and it's funny. The two big winners, or the winners or losers here on the Philadelphia side. James Harden again gets traded to a team that thinks he'll help. He will help get them over the hump, and he fails miserably, as he has pretty much everywhere that he's gone. I mean, is James Harden a guy who's going to help a team ever get over the hump and win an NBA championship?
Look, there's a mentality out there amongst some NBA players, and it's not that they're not good. It's not that they can't play, but it's a mentality that they want to be the ones that are going to go out and get things done, and they can't do it on their own. Like it's a sport that is a team, that you need a team to complete and compete, right? Like players like same thing, like Carmelo Anthony. Some of these guys, they have a lot of skills, individual skills, and it's great. You can see it on the court. And even a guy like LeBron James, but you can't go out there and win a basketball game on your own. You can't do it. There's 5 people on the court for a reason. If it was one-on-one basketball, you guys can do anything you want to do when you want to do it. That's fine and dandy, but that's on the blacktops, man. This is the NBA basketball. And things happen with different teams, and different teams do different things. And, everybody talks about, these coaches, they're not adjusting, or the players, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Yeah, because they get stuck in the mind that they want to be the guy. They want to be the man to take the game over. And sometimes, that won't be able to happen because it's a team sport. So,
yeah. And on the other side, Jimmy Butler, I mean, the Heat are in the conference finals for, I think, the second time in 3 years. They went to the finals during the COVID bubble season. Jimmy Butler, I mean, he may, up until now, may have been viewed, or is being viewed, in a similar way to James Harden. He's a guy who, I think he's on a mission right now because he wants to prove they can win a championship, and the window's closing for Jimmy Butler. I mean, I think this is the year they could get there. I'm still a Bucks fan. I think Bucks have a great chance to repeat. But if Jimmy Butler's going to do it, this may be his best chance. What are your thoughts on Jimmy Butler up until now, and how he, that comparison with James Harden and some of those other guys who maybe couldn't get over the top?
Right. Like, so even a team like the Heat they have a little bit more balance, right? You have someone like Hero, who's, one of the best players on the team as well, like to balance him out. Like you have other people there that have a team-minded and team goals. Like, so that helps a lot when you're on a team and it's just, let's say it's 3 of you and you guys are the ones saying, hey, we're going to take this game over. That only can happen if those 3 guys are like on the same page and play it hard together. Like, what you saw at the Cleveland with LeBron and also in Miami. Mm-hmm. So, I think Butler sees that he's not LeBron James and he's not, he don't have the same teams, but there are guys there that can play at a high level and compete. And that's important, He left, and Philly got rid of him for a reason, right? And was that good? Was that good? Was it bad? At the end of it, doesn't matter. But Philly needs to do that again. They need to put the reset button. I've been saying it for the last two seasons. I've said it on the Mac and Jack show. I've been talking to Rob Butler about it. It's like, and Embiid is not a puzzle piece that you want to start with. He's not. He's a component that should be.
He's not on a court enough either.
The best availability is is to be on the court and be able to play. But not just that. Is his intensity is good when he's moving forward and he's making his points and he's playing good defense. But then there's parts in the third and fourth quarter that I've been watching these games, and you see that he's either too tired because he's been carrying the team for the first two quarters into the second half, or what happens is that he's scoring, but then the team's not involved, right?
Right.
So if he's scoring, who's giving you defense, right? Because he's not going to be running back and forth to put up those deep. I see yesterday watching the game, and he's like hanging around the 3-point line, making picks and stuff. But if you're the man, if you're a center, that position is called center for a reason. If you're not on the inside, on the defense, you're hurting your team. Because he's the one who's got all the height on the team, right? And he's not even on the inside on defense. Now on offense, he got a few offensive rebounds. I can't negate that because he's got them on his stats and everything. But those offensive rebounds are okay. The defensive rebounds are okay, but even on your offense, you need to be involved, right? To get rebounds as well. So he needs to find a little bit more balance in his game, right? And he needs to have a little bit more intensity when it matters, not in the beginning of the game, but like throughout the game. So.
I also I look at Philadelphia a little bit like I look at the Nets. This team, they're just poorly constructed, and they need to be kind of blown up. I think maybe coaches as well. Doc Rivers could look for another job here. This has kind of been his MO. He gets teams to a certain point. Now he did win a championship with Boston.
Right.
He can only get the Clippers to a certain point, and then he looked for another opportunity, and he may do that here. I think.
Yeah, I think. Well, in this team, I don't think it's his fault.
I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it is.
He came in, and I've been telling even Jamie Paggs, who's the Philly sports guy, like, listen, nobody's listening to him. Doc Rivers is saying things, and they're just like looking at him, and then they go on the court and they do something different.
Well,
and that's part of what their culture's been for the last 3 seasons. Like nobody's listening to the coaches. The teams are trying. Those teams are doing what they want to do. Those players are doing what they want to do. It's not panning out for them. You can't play an isolation game as much as that's kind of the NBA right now.
Yeah,
like the whole game through, you can't do it.
The inmates are running the asylum, and it is pervasive through the. I can't say the word. Apparently, I shouldn't try to say that word. It is running rampant throughout the league. This type of behavior, and I'm not saying it's not. In a way, it is. If the coach needs to be strong enough to harness that, but it's not just Doc Rivers. You're right; it's happening around the league. And if he leaves, I think it'll be of his own accord. I don't think he's going to get relieved of his duties, but he may look for another opportunity because, again, that's kind of Doc's MO. Let me flip to Eric Spelustra. This is one I think Eric Spelustra is one of the most underrated coaches. Maybe in the history of basketball. Nobody ever talks about what a great coach Eric Spelustra is, but this guy's been to 5 championship series and won 2 of them. Two. And he may very well get there again. I mean, this guy is an underrated coach in my mind and needs to get his due. Yeah, well,
here's the thing with a guy like Pat Riley on top, running things in Miami. As far as being part of that leadership team, it's hard for Spoelstra to get his due, right? Because Pat Riley makes moves, right? And the best move that he's made is to keep Spoelstra there. The stability, the culture, everything's there for Miami in the taking. Even some of these guys that have been to and gone through Miami, they've been developed. They come out and they go to other teams. It's not, it's not the same thing, not always, but Spoelstra and the group of coaches that he has over there, and some that have come in and come back. It's a good place to be to play basketball, to learn about defense, to learn how to control the game. And if you're not willing to be open-minded and listen and be part of what he's trying to put out on the court, then it's not going to work out, And I think that's one thing that made LeBron uncomfortable, as well as some of those older guys, is that they want to do more, right? You always want to do more than what's available, right? And it's a good thing that they didn't move him, and it's a good thing that LeBron moved away from Miami because it's helped them stay in the hunt. In the East.
Yeah, it's funny. I can't believe he's been there almost 14 years, 13 or 14 years. I remember him getting named coach and going, "Who's this guy?" And he looked like a kid. And He's been here 14 years and become one of the great coaches, and I think he's only had one season with a losing record. So that's a.
But look, if you see the.
Good.
If you see how the teams have been reacted to him, they kind of give him this look like, yo, come on, we're on the court, we're the ones playing. But he makes his points, right? He puts it out there, and he might not, look like a guy that you want to listen to, but at the end of the day, he they do listen to him, and as much as they're angry about how his approach is sometimes, because he's actually very verbal, he makes some moves, right? He makes good moves.
Yeah, and Alan's point here about the teams that have solid team play opposed to the teams that go rogue. I mean, look at the teams that have won. The teams that got to the final last year, I thought were well coached and listened to their coaches and they stayed within the game plan that was instituted. And there's a lot of complaints about no defense, but last year's finals with Phoenix and Milwaukee, while there was some really good offensive play,
it was a defensive battle.
Some of the games were decided by great defensive plays. And it's to me, it's no coincidence, as Alan alludes to, that Miami's consistently here in the hunt. Miami's in the hunt. The Warriors are back in the hunt now that they're healthy because they're well coached and they play within a team system. The Phoenix Suns, I know you're always talking about the praises of Monty Williams, so I don't think it's a
and last night Monty's didn't matter what Monty said. CP3, he wasn't hitting shots. Booker was out of the game mentally. Crawford was just, hitting people towards the end of the game. He was, slamming. He slammed the Frenchman straight Nikita on the ground. Like, again, the coaches can only do so much. They're not on the court, but you want your coach to be, to give you the opportunity to help you get over the hump when your teams are going on runs. And Monty Williams couldn't do nothing with the way these players checked out, towards the end of the fourth quarter. Now, I say checked out because what happens was that, the Mavs, Jason Kidd just gave the ball to I don't want to say his name wrong. I'm sorry, it slipped my mind. But he just made the guy just go ahead and run the game, and nobody could stop him.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
I'll find his name here for you.
Doncic.
Right. Jason Kidd's not a bad basketball coach, but his teams seem to go rogue and go out on their own a lot. That's why Jason Kidd's been around this. He's had a few jobs now, and he keeps bouncing around the league because I think his message is kind of just rolls the ball out there and says, "Go play basketball."
Yeah, Doncic, like he took over the game as a player. Like he was playing defense and offense, and the offense that he was playing, nobody was able to stop him without fouling. So,
if you get a guy at fire like that, you do have to just keep feeding those basketball.
Yeah, so Jason Kidd did right by him by saying, "Well, this guy's putting it on his shoulders, and he's going to try to do the best he can." And again, he scored like 30 points again, and that's like the 13th playoff game or something that he's gone 30 points. So
yeah.
I'm
not. It's interesting. This series has been interesting because the games haven't been particularly close, any of them, and the last two have been blowouts. For the Suns in Game 5 and the Mavericks in Game 6. So this Game 7's, and we're jumping around a little bit. I play in the same Eastern Conference, but since we went here, Game 7 is going to be at the Suns, and I think these teams have pretty much held serve on their home court. So the Suns obviously have an advantage come Sunday. Do you think they're going to win this Game 7? I do.
So the problem is that these guys need to get their head out of the clouds and focus on the team aspect of it, right? And attack the basket and not just start going on the shooting range, right? Because what happens with the Suns is when they get cold shooting, they don't attack the basket. They just keep trying to shoot till they get hot again. And Monty Williams, he needs to recognize that. Look at Doncic, yeah. Thanks, Alan. So it's like, sadly the games are like that more and more these days in the NBA. Is like guys are shooting, and if they're cold, they keep shooting to get hot, and that's a terrible gameplay. But these coaches are telling these guys attack the basket, get fouls, and players keep going down the court, pass the ball twice, and they're shooting up, shots left and right. And what happens is that you give the other team a chance to rest, right? They don't have to play defense that hard, and so they're given opportunities when. That's why you see these landslide games like that, and it's terrible. But if the Suns can play good team ball, have CP3 shoot the basket, attack the basket, do his little floaters, do his jump shots, and if Booker can come in and just attack the basket and try to get fouls, they'll win the game. But if Booker stands behind the three, tries to shoot his way to a win, and then CP3 does the same thing, this team is going to fall to Luka and the rest of the Mavs, who play pretty decent defense and who attack the basket and score points.
And I think their benches outplayed the Suns' bench as well, which has been a big factor in the series.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They keep trying to shoot themselves back into the game, and I don't think that's a coaching thing. I think that's a mental thing. Like sometimes, guys sometimes feel like they have a shot and they can make it, and they're past the 12-foot, they're into 18 feet range, and then all of a sudden they miss this shot that they think is simple, but at the end of the day, it's the closer you are to the basket, the better chance you are of making it, right?
All that said, I think Chris Paul takes control of this game on Sunday, and the Phoenix Suns win at home. And I think Monty Williams has a bit of a coaching advantage over Jason Kidd. I just do. Monty Williams is a great coach.
Well, his advantage is having players like CP3 and like Booker who can keep you in the games and get you back into games. But if you don't play the game, if you guys aren't on the same page, and play that defense on the back end, they're going to be sitting looking at each other again and wondering why they're not in the finals, right? Yeah.
And before I move on from this series, I need to touch on the whole issue with the fan and Chris Paul and Paul's mom. I mean, I've gone off on this topic many times in the past and had specific blogs about it. Fans need to stop this nonsense. I don't give a crap if you pay $10,000 for that seat. You do not have the right to do anything you want in that arena. You can't berate you can boo, you can do whatever you want. Yes, you can't throw things at players. You can't throw racial epithets at players. You can't harass their families in the stands. Start acting like the civil people that we're supposed to be here in this country, and it's nonsense. And I hope this guy gets banned for life from the arena. What are any thoughts you want to add there?
Yeah, so fans are going to be fans, and there's good fans, there's terrible fans. I mean, there's in between. Sometimes you feel like going out there and screaming at players. It's after work. You had a few drinks, but at the end of the day, I think one of the things that these stadiums and the personnel the security that are working there. My thing is there's less and less every year, I feel like. And when people don't feel like there's any presence of authority around, they're going to do what they want to do. And, and it just becomes a snowball effect. And, I feel like there should be more personnel in the stadiums. There should be more policing, just to make fans know and aware that they're around, right? And when you just have event staff on a shirt, man, I tell you what, they don't make nobody feel policed at all.
Who's intimidated by a guy in an event shirt? Nobody.
Yeah, so they need to get some real police officers out there and patrolling, just to give that the security a boost, So, and that I feel like that's happened less and less the more I go to some of these games.
Well, there isn't. At least publicly, we don't know about the stories like we had last year and during the COVID season with some really bad scenes. So maybe it's stopped a little bit. Well, we saw a bad scene in Yankee Stadium a few weeks ago, but ban these guys. Alan's saying he did get a ban. I hope it's a lifetime ban from all NBA games.
Just like not all. I think it's just a team.
What's that?
I don't think it's all. I think he got banned, but I don't think it's for from all the games in the NBA. I think it's just for that team.
No, okay. Well, again, essentially, where's he going to go? I mean, is he going to travel to all the Suns home games? The guys are spending all his money in beer, obviously, so I don't think it's that big a deal. Guys, just as I move back, I'm going to move back to the Eastern Conference to talk about Milwaukee and the Celtics. And guys, I did notice some of your comments about the the NFL schedule, and I'll get to it. I promise. Sunday we'll talk about the NFL schedule, and I'll answer your questions about the Pats schedule. I know Alan sent me some message about the Cowboys, and Dave's asking about it. We'll get into it on the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, and I think maybe next week, Carlos, you and I may tackle that subject as well. So that's the only reason I haven't shown those questions, guys. So anyway, and yes, Carlos, I'm sorry, Alan's qualifying just Mavs games. So I get that. I mean, it's probably different to ban him from the entire NBA, but to ban him from his home arena is enough for me. Let's move back to the Eastern Conference and talk about the team that I like a lot here and have through the season. They struggled a bit through the regular season, the Bucks, and so did the Celtics. They got hot at the end. Mm-hmm. Right now, they're going into Game 6 tonight with the Bucks ahead 3-2. Celtics have played really well, blew out the Nets in the first round without even breaking a sweat, basically. I just like the Bucks. I love I just love the way this team is put together with Giannis and Drew Holiday and Middleton, and you got everybody knows their role. Portis knows his role, and I just think they play team basketball as we talked about before. Again, it's different team basketball, and we're talking about the '70s Knicks. I get that, right? Still, the team looks different because they're faster and all this other stuff, but they do play a team concept, and I like the way they I think they're set up to repeat here. I think I would like to see them wrap this up in Game 6 and not go to Game 7, but I think they played very well, and they've got a little bit of controversy hanging over them, which we'll talk about in a second. But what are your thoughts on this series up till now?
Yeah, so it's a series because Middleton is not playing it, right? But
Middleton being out it caused some problems.
Yeah, but look, Boston, their biggest attribute is also one of their downfalls, right? Is the speed. They're young and they're fast, and that's one of the things that kind of plays against them as well. Is that they're young and they're fast. And Giannis has been there before. He's got experience, and the whole team and the Bucks team they have there. They have experience. That bench for the Bucks needs to step up like they did last year a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they get lost in the whole just getting into the speed of the game with Boston. I think when they come off the bench, it takes them a few minutes to get into the groove because Boston's younger and faster, and they actually move the ball pretty well, and they shoot. That's another thing that's scary. That they have a lot of shooters. Smart, and he's playing very well. Tatum can take control of the game with attacking the basket. So
great player.
Yeah, so like the Bucks they kind of like you see them that they kind of take a step back when it comes to their bench start, and after the 6 men start coming in the game, it takes them a few to get into the game. Whereas last year they were the ones that sometimes set the tone to get that going, right? So I think Boston's a little bit faster than them on both the coming off to start the game, and also their bench is a little bit quicker. But again, they're younger. The coach has them in the game, calling the right plays.
I think the coach has done a great job in stepping in here. And was he a net assistant?
He coached in Europe, right? In Europe, or he's coached.
European coaches don't have a lot of success in the NBA either.
No, he played in Europe. He played in Europe, but he's been a coach.
Another great story for the Celtics is Al Horford returning to town. He was the star of Game 4, I think, with 30 points.
Yeah, I mean, I giggle because he's a little bit older, a little bit long in the tooth.
90 years old, isn't he?
And but he's still in good shape. I mean, he does. The thing is that he does his job, right? He goes out there, and he does his job, and he's playing very.
I swear, Alan's always reading my mind about what I'm going to say next. I didn't see your comment before you put that up there, but it's a great point. As we pointed out, I love to see those kind of stories.
Hey, Carlos, how you doing?
Good morning.
It's probably my niece.
Carlos's niece wants to make sure she says good morning a few times here. Went through the OKC rehab with Chris Paul, like Chris Paul did. I guess he's talking about Al Horford.
Yeah.
The coaches here are an interesting matchup. You got, I'll say his name wrong, of course. Adoku from Boston, and Bowden Holmes. I can't see either one of these guys' names. He was on the verge of getting fired last year before the playoffs with the Bucks. They go on a run he not only saves his job, but wins the NBA championship, and now he's got a chance to possibly get to the finals and repeat again. And it shows you how tenuous the job is in the NBA and how quickly you can turn from a bum to a hero.
And you know, the thing about those two coaches is that they do affect their team. And those coaches, the changes and the things that they do in the third and fourth quarter actually have a matter, and the teams know it matters, right? So
yeah,
they play off the players a little bit better than any other, you know, other teams in other series. But whoever wins this series is gonna be in trouble because the Heat are getting a couple days rest, right?
Yeah, agreed. And that's one of the reasons I think the Bucks really want to wrap this up in Game 6. But I think it's gonna go 7.
It's probably gonna go 7 because
I think the Bucks will prevail, and you'll get a Heat Bucks. I will predict Bucks beating the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals right now.
Whoa!
I predicted it before the playoffs started as well.
Yeah, and I just think this is a great matchup that a lot of people tend to miss because they play first in the Eastern, being in the Eastern Conference, and some people getting down to work in the West Coast or waiting to see their teams play in the West. But this is a great matchup for the NBA. This is keeping eyes, on the TV. So
let's go back out west quickly. Golden State and the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies and Alan talked about this earlier. Golden State has a chance to shut them out and win this series.
It's not going to happen
without Ja Morant, and they get blown out by about 40 points, and they were down 54 or 55 at one point in this game. How does that happen? I don't know. I just don't know how that happens.
It's just great team.
The Warriors.
Well, so what the Memphis Grizzlies have done is they've won games without Ja Morant.
Yep.
When he was injured, and about 23 or 24 games, something like that. And their players, they got 3 to 4 players that average 20 points a game. So, and they've been doing that, and consistently, and it's not anything new to them, right? And they're not bench players; they're the starting team. So, usually you'll see maybe 2 or 3 starters average 20, 25 points. But these are 3 or 4 players that are averaging 25. And then, now they're missing Ja Morant, and Ja Morant was just an energy booster after he came back from being injured. So now he's back out again. So the team, they already know how to respond, right? And they play good ball. They play great defense, man. They're young, they're fast. They kind of remind me of the Detroit Pistons from the late 90s, early 2000s. They'll grind you out, and you don't.
Bad boys.
Yeah, and the one with
you're talking about. I'm sorry. That's right. You're younger than me. I
know the Bad Boys, but I'm talking about the Prince team with.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So they because the thing is that they'll attack the basket and they'll get those easy points, but then if they get hot, they'll start shooting the ball too. So it's a good team that people haven't really. Some people have missed out on watching this season. Because it's so they play such a good game team wise. Also, it might not be appealing to some guys, to some players.
I don't really know, and Alan may know because he follows this, and you may. What's Morant's status for the rest of the game? Or the rest of the series? I haven't really been able to find it. Is he playing in game? Is he ruled out for the series, or is he?
He's ruled out for the series. So there was news coming out yesterday about what was going to happen for the rest of the playoffs. So. But I mean, he was coming from an injury, but he was still kind of, fighting it off. I think he was playing a little hurt. He was. There was games there where you could tell during the end before he got to the bench that he was walking gingerly on it, and he just looked tired. So.
But Alan's got him out indefinitely, so that's not a good sign. Now, if I'm the Warriors, with the things you just said about them playing without Morant, if I'm the Warriors, I better wrap this up tonight at home and not go back to Memphis Monday.
Yeah, so Warriors have a problem, right? They're taking too long to get hot, to get shooting. They have to play a little bit more defense than they're used to. They're not as fast as they used to be. Even though now Wiggins is picking up his defense out there, and Thompson looks like he's starting to get his legs back. But I mean, you know, it's funny to see some of these guys just looking and Green just looks like he's, just really out of his game. And then he talking to the ref and that just taking him further out the game. And so like, and then Curry is just there, like he's going to do what he has to do, but
yeah,
they're playing good defense on him. So they got to move the ball. Right. So,
well, with that said, the Memphis Grizzlies are a great story. The Mavericks are a great story. I just think we're going to see a Suns Warriors final in the West, and I think the Warriors come out of there to face the Bucks.
They need to step up the game. That's for sure. And the fact that they mention and the coach mentions is that they have to try to look for shots. That's not. If I'm Memphis, I'm loving to hear that. That's not good for Golden State at all.
Yeah, and we'll revisit this topic as we get deeper into the playoffs as well. And if we have some time, we'll talk about some of the coaching news. But let's jump into the Stanley Cup playoffs a little bit as well. Some of those series now are knotted at 3 games apiece. A big game for the Rangers tonight, by the way.
Big game for the Rangers tonight.
They staved off elimination the other night. The goaltender, who I won't try to pronounce his name. I'll let you do that for me.
Shirkin
stepped up a little bit, but I don't think that Gallant can be very hesitant to yank him if he starts to struggle like he did the first 4 games or 3 games.
And you can just call him Igor. It'll be okay. Everybody
there you go. Igor's good. Yeah.
But he's okay. It's hard to say he's lights out, but he's a good goalkeeper. And,
he's really good, but
and that defense needs to step up the game like they did last game. And that. I feel like that Crosby hit was legit, was legal.
I do too. I was going to get into that, and I'm glad you started it. So
he got hurt off of that, and I'm like, but there was no suspensions.
Yeah,
there wasn't anything, and he just didn't have his head on a swivel, and he got caught. So I'm not sure when he'll be back. I'm not sure if he's back, but if he doesn't come back for 2 games, I don't feel like the Penguins can get another win. You saw him not being on the ice, and you have players running into each other. It's crazy.
Crosby's been a Rangers killer for a long time. Well, killed a lot of teams, but he's killed the Rangers for a lot of years. And I do think the hit was legit. Just a good, hard hockey hit. You're going to get those. Yeah. I don't know how guys get so up in arms, but I suppose, if it went the other way, the Ranger fans would be up in arms as well. So
no, it's not for nothing too. Like, people kind of need to understand is Crosby is getting older. Yeah. So, he's going to get caught a few times, not with his head on a swivel, because he's got to pick up the speed, and he's got to, he's trying to focus more because he's not as fast and quick as he used to be. I'm not taking nothing away from him. He's still a great player. I'm just saying that, now that he's getting older, he's not going to be like, quick and nimble like he used to be. So he's going to get caught with his head down,
Yeah, Alan, and I'm surprised. I am surprised as well. The key here has been the young players have struggled a bit in this series and haven't stepped up. And maybe, after 4 games, they're battle ready. Who knows? I hope they are. And the goaltending has been not spot on. So again, that's been the Rangers' problem here.
With the defense, right? Like the older guys in Pittsburgh have been able to make the runs, make the passes, and push the Rangers back a lot more on the defensive side and make Igor uncomfortable back there, right?
Yeah.
So, the first game, I think, set the tone for the Penguins because they were able to take that game to 3 overtimes, and that right there gave them confidence. And the effect to the Rangers is like that kind of beat them down a little bit because they realized that being young and fast, as much as it helped them this season, didn't benefit them to win that 1 game. So
yeah, and I do think the league's got to do something to. And Jim Beringer's got a article this last couple of days in Full Press Hockey, and I would ask people to get out there and read it. I'll have it posted to the TGI Sports Talk page today. But one of the things he's talking about is the goalie interference has just been out of control in this series, and it affected the Rangers in Game 1 as well. And I think it's something that the league has to take a look at is all this goalie interference that's going on and find a way to address it.
Yeah, no, I think it was the power play as well. They really didn't do that well in the first 2 games.
And they played, the power play was their strength all year. So they played shorthanded well all year, and they played it well, when they were out, they had the other team out, man. So it just hasn't stepped up in the playoffs. And as you said, I think the Rangers still do have a good chance to come back and win the series if Crosby's out for those 2 games for sure.
Yeah, and you can't play hesitant, right? You just got to go out there and play a game. And that with those 2 games that the Penguins that just took away from Rangers, just took them out mentally. And they just, this last game, it was good to see them, get back to snuff, right? So
yeah. Elsewhere in the East, a couple of teams that have monkeys to get off their back as far as getting out of the early rounds of the playoffs. The Panthers and the Maple Leafs, they're both their series. And I think the Panthers have a 3-2 lead over the Capitals, and they play Game 6 tonight. And then Toronto blew a chance to wrap up their series last night with the defending champion Tampa Bay Lightnings, and they're going to get a Game 7.
I'm not a.
Go ahead.
I heard Mac and Jag talk about Toronto and they're backing them up, but I mean they were there last year, right? We saw them play last year, and they got. I feel like they were because of the circumstance they were able to get there and be part of the some of the playoffs, and now this year they proven that they belong, but now they're falling back into they're not fast enough, they're not big enough, and Tampa has a little bit more experience in them, right?
Well, the champions are the champions until you beat them, and they've shown great resilience. They had a bad stretch, near the end of the season, and then they righted it the last 10 games or so, and they went in with some momentum, fell behind in this series, and have stayed alive to force Game 7. And there's nothing better in any sport, in my mind, than Game 7. I love Game 7s. I don't care what sport we're talking about. It's a lot of fun. These series will be a lot of fun. The ones that have gone to, well, I guess we only got one going to Game 7 so far, but we got potential for a bunch. But going to the Maple Leafs, what you said, I mean, they got one of the great young players in hockey, in Austin Matthews, who's up for the Hart Award trophy again this year for the second year in a row, I believe. No way Maple Leaf has won this award since like 1954, by the way. Amazing streak of bad luck or just not good players. But he's a tremendous player, and I think he'll help them get over the top if they do. This team needs to get over this hump and win this playoff series, or they're gonna get this tag, which maybe they already have, of teams that just can't do it when the games get important.
And the biggest problem, Keith, is that the depth, right? It's what's holding them back. They're playing their lines a little bit too long because they don't have it. And you see Tampa, they have depth, and they don't have to match up with Toronto the way that because of that. So they're playing to their advantage. And I know Matthew's good. He's a great player.
Toronto gets this Game 7 at home Saturday at home. So, as I said, so I think it's going to be a.
Is he a Crosby? That's the question out there right now, right? Is he a kid like Crosby? Is he like a Gretzky? Is he going to be able to carry the team?
This is a defining moment for Matthews. I agree. Game 7 at home, get over the hump against the defending champions, and now momentum can start to build. I think they get this monkey off their back. They could go deep in the playoffs.
Yeah. See, I want to see Toronto do better, because having a Canadian team in the East represent the East I feel like helps NHL a lot, because of the effect that the Canadians have on NHL hockey. But I mean, man, Tampa's Tampa, man. So we'll see if they're too long in the tooth, right?
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key. But they got the experience in it, and again, you're the champion until you're not.
Until someone knocks you off the pedestal, right?
I like the Maple Leafs' chances, but I'm not writing off the Lightning. I think it's going to be a great game, and I can't wait to watch it tomorrow. The other game the other series we were talking about just now was the Panthers against the Capitals, and the Panthers, another team, huge regular season, but they've had them before and stumbled in the playoffs. They're up 3-2. They're at Washington tonight. I think the Panthers will get by this, but I think it may go to Game 7 whenever that's played. There's no date announced for that Game 7 if it should be needed.
Well, see, the Caps are the Capitals, right? They're they're getting into the game. They're grinding them out, and the Panthers are trying to finesse their way out of this situation. And that's not how that works in playoffs. In the playoffs in the NHL, right? You can't just shoot yourself out and have a nice game, quick and fun and easy. That's not how that works, especially with a team like the Washington Capitals. And you see that offense and that defense and even the goalkeeping coming back to life in Washington. It's not good. That's not good for the Panthers. But hey, this is the playoffs, man. It's another season, right? And they gotta kind of turn it up. If not,
I was wrong when I said earlier there's only one Game 7 so far. Right now there's 3 because the Bruins and the
Hurricanes
are going to go to Game 7 on Saturday
tomorrow. Yeah.
This has been a very good series.
I'm a little bit surprised.
Go ahead.
I was a little surprised that the Bruins came back on this one, but I felt like the Hurricanes could, I think they missed a chance. You sometimes you let a team linger too long and it can bite you in the butt, man. This is gonna be a good game.
Bruins are a scrappy team. There's
no quitting that team, man.
Yeah. So a lot of teams would have laid down here, I think, and they did not. So that'll be a fun series. I am gonna predict that the Bruins will go in here and upset the Carolina Hurricanes on tomorrow. Yeah, on tomorrow. It's on Saturday.
Tomorrow.
Some great game, some great hockey tomorrow, man.
Yeah. Tomorrow we see the Kings and the Oilers.
The Kings and the Oilers is the other Game 7 I want to touch on quick before we get too close on time here. The
Oilers are looking good, man.
The Oilers came back and forced a Game 7 last night. That game I think will be Sunday, right? Or is it Monday? I'm not positive.
Tomorrow.
Oh, they're playing Game 7 tomorrow.
Yeah. Tomorrow.
All right, my bad. Again, very even series. Edmonton. I think the Kings were the last team to get in the West, and Edmonton's been a little bit reborn here, and this has been a fun series. And I think it would be good for hockey again if Edmonton goes deep into the playoffs here as well.
Yeah, they got a good mix of players there. To play the Kings, I think it's a little bit to their advantage. But then it took them the last few games to get back into the game, right? So, I like that they were able to get back into the series. So, and stay off elimination. So it's going to be good. It's going to be a good matchup for sure.
And welcome to Jim Beringer from the pre-mentioned Full Press Hockey. I alluded to his article. Get there and read it on TGI Sports Talk. I'll get it up there this morning, I promise, Jim. But welcome in this morning, and we'll have Jim on Sunday morning to kind of dive into more of this in depth. Man, there's nobody knows more about hockey than Jim Beringer. I love having Jim on. He's talking about Dallas was the last time. I'm not sure where that comment came from. Maybe you remember. Kings took some time, but got help from Vegas struggling. I guess it was. Maybe he's elaborating here. Oilers, Kings, team that has scored the first has won every game. That's an interesting stat right there.
I saw that earlier. Yeah.
Get out fast Saturday. So thanks for your input there, Jim. Let's see what else would I want to touch on here. Why don't
Trot's getting fired?
Go ahead. You jump to anywhere you want.
Trot's getting fired?
Let's jump to Trot's getting fired because I know that you want to talk about this. I mean, he's only one of the, I think he's the third all-time winning coach in NHL history, so he's not very good. I get that.
I never said he wasn't good. He's just not,
he's not good.
He's too passive, man. Like he's a great coach. If New Jersey wants to pick him up, or any other team want to pick him up to build a team, fine. But he might be a good team builder, but you can't just build a team in NHL. You got to go out there and win them. And the set of plays that he's, the way he likes to play, like you have to have the players that fit that mold, right? The play doesn't fit the players. The players have to fit the mold, and that's not a way to win in any sport. Now you gotta play to your players' advantage, and he doesn't do that. He does not. He hasn't done it. And
where were the Islanders before Barry Trotz got there?
They were on the up. They weren't great, but they were on the up. And yeah, maybe he took them to the playoffs, but he wasn't going to get them a championship, you know.
Look, to me, and you know, him and Lou Lamoriello come in here and they've built this team up, and this was a disappointing season, no doubt about it. But and I don't know, Jim may or may not agree with me here. I'm sure we'll see some comments here, and if not, we'll get into it more Sunday. But you know, to me, this is more again, similar to the Knicks situation, and the trigger didn't get pulled on Tibbs, at least not yet, and I don't think it will now. It's a similar situation to Lou Lamoriello not taking his own responsibility and putting it all in a coach and jettisoning, again, a guy who, by the way, will have a job about 5 minutes after the Stanley Cup playoffs are over.
I mean, I think he saw the light when he wasn't around, and they won like 3 or 4 games without him being around Trotz this past year, season. I mean, like, so like you can win with these guys.
That's an interesting comparison from Alan. It's a Showalter discussion. Lou is a product of the Gar Snow players. He moved Toes and Letty out. Okay. Again, I don't see, again, my and again, this is kind of like the Tibbs conversation for me. When you fire a guy, to me, you got to have somebody better to bring in. And I don't think there's a better coach for the Islanders than Barry Trotz right now. No,
but if you don't bring somebody who has that great experience in, then you bring somebody new who will give you young players a new, you know, a new perspective, a new way, a new idea of just trying to get the wins down, right? Because the last thing you want is to have these players not play at a high at a high level and to their abilities, man, you know. And Trotz, when he was out, you know, the assistant took over and he won 2 games, like, and the coach and just the coach not being there, the team just looked different, you know. So Lou Lamoriello probably got excited and was like, listen, if we could get that out of our players with Trotz not being there, maybe he's not that important. And to be honest with you, he's not that important if he might get you to the playoffs, but he's not going to help you win because he's not getting the attributes out of you. You know
I gotta tell you, for Jim, I've never seen Jim with such rapid fire comments. It's almost like having Carlos Chavez here in the room commenting. Jim is obviously all over Lou Lamoriello here. He's trying to rebuild the New Jersey Devils trap defense and having the defensive move the puck and all that other nonsense. Not nonsense. It was very successful at the time, but the game's changed a bit, and I think the game may have passed Lou Lamoriello by, and he better make the right coach selection, because if they don't succeed after firing Barry Trotz, then I got to believe Lou Lamoriello is the next guy to go.
And they need to bring somebody like who just retired out of hockey like a few years ago and is getting into coaching, who might have an idea of, like, you know, being in this new type of offense that the NHL plays, you know.
Yeah, good stuff. So anyway, we'll talk more about this topic on Sunday with Jim for sure. And Carlos, I know you'll be able to kind of jump in with your opinions then as well. There's some other I want to go back to the NBA because I want to talk a little bit about some of the coaching openings there. Some very interesting.
I don't think anybody wants the Lakers job.
Well, that's where I was going to start. It's interesting. They're interviewing like everybody under the sun. You know, Mark Jackson, I think, and Kenny Atkinson were the last couple guys to come in. Kenny Atkinson, the former Nets coach, and Mark Jackson. I think he's. I don't know if it's you or somebody else. Somebody loved Mark Jackson.
Mark Jackson.
We've talked to on the show. I personally think that Quinn Snyder is going to end up with this job. I think Quinn Snyder may step down. He's not going to get fired in Utah, but I think he may step down and look to move up, if you will, I guess, really down when you look at it, to the Lakers job. I think he'd be a great fit there. Any thoughts? I mean, there must be 20 guys rumored for this job.
I mean, like even Shaquille said he'll
Doc
take
Rivers, by the way.
Even Shaquille O'Neal said he'll take the coaching job if they paid him $100 million.
Who said that? Oh, Shaq. Yeah.
So, look, I mean, the Lakers are in more trouble than just finding a coach, right? And the biggest problem they have is that they're not going to be able to move their players that are causing them issues, right?
Well, maybe what they should do is not let the players dictate what the roster should look like. I mean, this disaster really for the Lakers was predicated on the fact that they let Davis and LeBron tell them how to build a roster, bring in Westbrook. That wasn't the plan until they said do that, and it worked out disastrously. Those three guys playing together.
Here, I was just contemplating how do you fix that? Look, are you the Lakers? Do you give up Davis and Russell Westbrook for Embiid and Tobias to Philly?
Yeah, in a heartbeat.
And Harden and throwing Harden?
No, I don't want Harden. Not if I'm Lakers fan. I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the only way is to make some huge move like that to alleviate what the Lakers are going to have to go through with Davis and Westbrook. Like,
yeah, I mean the people they've interviewed for this job, though, none of them said, if I'm a Laker fan, none of them really light my fire a whole lot. Terry Stotts, Jackson, and Atkinson are the only guys with any head coaching experience.
Now, I don't even think Atkinson would take that Lakers job, to be honest with you.
No. Interesting. I mean, he'll get a job again somewhere. He did a great job with the Nets, and he got royally screwed, I guess, by Kevin Durant, if you want to go that far. But
I don't know about that. I mean, that team was in the midst of getting blown up anyways because of money, and that was a bad move in all sides for them. So.
Yes, that was the guy I was trying to think of. They wanted to bring in DeRozan rather than Westbrook, and LeBron nixed it. So, Scott Brooks, it brings up a point. I'll run a couple names by you and give me a yay or nay. You think they should be considered for the next coach? Here's some names that are rumored. They haven't interviewed, obviously, because some of them have got other jobs. Former NBA head coach Scott Brooks. I say no.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Jensen, who is a Jazz assistant. I say no. Quinn Snyder. I say yes.
Maybe.
Mike Brown already got a job, so if it's the same Mike Brown, I think he just got the Sacramento job here.
Yep.
Juwan Howard.
Ooh, interesting.
And
in LA?
For the LA job, yeah.
Maybe in the NBA, but I don't feel like he'll do well in LA.
I don't feel like he's leaving Michigan, actually. And Doc Rivers. I think Doc Rivers is
return to LA.
Somebody to keep an eye on here, as I said before. When things start to struggle, Doc looks to kind of move to a different situation.
And again, everything in Philly is not his fault. So if he leaves there, there's nothing on him, right?
Mike Brown getting the job at Sacramento. I mean, Mike Brown's been around, and this is not a very inspiring choice if I'm a Kings fan either. I mean, they were looking at Mark Jackson. They were looking at Mike D'Antonio, which I don't think Mike's had his chances. I don't think he needs another job. And then a bunch of assistants around in the league. Darvin Ham, Charles Lee, Will Hardy, who are going to be mentioned with pretty much every job. But is anybody get excited about the Sacramento Kings hiring Mike Brown?
Sacramento Kings got to be one of the most loaded rosters in the NBA that haven't really been able to get over a hump.
And interestingly enough, these are the only two jobs that are open right now in the NBA. Will there be more or not? What are your thoughts? If we wrap up,
I hope the Knicks get somebody.
It's not happening. If Tibbs is getting fired, he's getting fired already.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Tibbs might leave on this accord. Like, if you don't get on the players that he needs, I feel like he might just leave himself. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, he might. I mean, I'm not saying he won't. I don't think he's leaving this year, though. Again, there's no place for him to go. He's not getting offered a Lakers job. I don't think. I think that's
he doesn't. The way he coaches, man, I tell you, he does. He should go coach in the NCAA, man.
You're never going to love Tibbs.
I like him, man. He's a good player coach. He's just not a good basketball coach for the NBA.
Well, how about we hold again, just like we talked about with the Devils? Why don't we hold Leon Rose accountable for what he's done to that roster over 2 years? He's not improved it. He destroyed the team chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, well, I didn't like any of those pickups for the Knicks at all, management wise and coaching wise, and even the players. I'm like, as a Knicks fan, I'm just like, what are they doing over there? Just, it just felt like a free for all, man.
Yeah. OKC, I think that job will stay filled as well.
Yeah. OKC's so good.
And the Thunder have 2 lottery picks. Good point, Alan. Your team could rebound here soon. So
rebound. They're not doing bad.
All right. Any last comments before we wrap it up here tonight, Carlos, or today? Sorry.
Yeah, just keep your TV on after 4:00, and you're gonna watch a ton of playoff games, right?
Oh my God! Between basketball and hockey, wall-to-wall hockey tomorrow. So guys, enjoy it. And we'll see you Sunday morning with the Sunday Stream of Consciousness. I'm sure Carlos will bang in to talk a little when Jim Beringer comes in to talk about the NHL playoffs, and we'll welcome that. And we'll see you later. Catch this at 12 on Roku.
You guys have a great weekend.
With the Mad New Yorker for TGI Sports Talks. Are You Serious? Right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. Take a quick look at this one more time. I'll play the Dream Ride Experience, and we'll catch you on the other side. Take care.
Have a good one, guys.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride Experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.